The following podcast is brought to you by Crosswinds Golf and Country Club in Burlington, just 45 minutes from downtown Toronto. Why are you reading like this, Mark? You'll find the most beautiful and affordable public golf course in Ontario. What makes Crosswinds so great? That's a rhetorical question. It's outstanding customer service. It's the $1 million views. It's the fabulous food and beverages and the terrific practice facilities and the kind and friendly people all over the golf course who want you to have a phenomenal day of golf. Did I mention the golf course, by the way? Championship course, always in pristine condition. Love it, love it, love it. I'm playing there Monday in the customer appreciation day. That's going to be a hoot. And even though it may seem like Crosswinds is a private golf course, it's not. It's public. It's pay as you play. And if you book your tee time online rather than by phone, you'll save $10 per golfer. Such a deal, as my uncle used to say. So what are you waiting for? Christmas? Hanukkah? Rosh Hashanah is coming soon. Go to crosswindsgolf.com, crosswindsgolf.com, book your tee time, save some dough, and when you get there, make sure you tell them Hebsy sent you. Now, Mike, can we please start the podcast? It's time for Hebsy On Sports, episode number 301. Hi there, sports fans. Mark Hebscher here in Little Italy. Toronto Mike is in New Toronto, and we're ready for another exciting episode of my podcast. I'm in a bit of a bitchy mood, is what I wanted to say. It's like when Dan Schulman last night couldn't say Ramirez. Anything in front of the word Ramirez is very difficult to say. If you're a linguist, it's tough. I remember the tennis player Raul Ramirez. I had to really enunciate that, and I couldn't do it. I messed it up the first 3 or 4 times. And I think yesterday when Dan went to go Harold Ramirez is a tongue twister. So I'm in a bit of a bitchy mood today. I'm upset, I'm angry, I'm disappointed, but I still love you.
You got a haircut though.
I did yesterday.
Looks good.
But not just the haircut. I went for the whole deal. I went for the shave.
Wow.
Mike, I hadn't shaved in 3 or 4 days. And for whatever reason, I was just kind of, feeling kind of grimy, and like literally got off the subway yesterday and went right into my guy. Okay. Yosef is terrific. And I needed the haircut. And I said, man, can I get a shave today? And he was sure. And I'm talking the whole deal, the hot towel treatment.
Right. He
does a facial massage that is like, oh, I feel great. So I feel great there, but I'm upset and I'm angry about a few things. For example, I went off, and a lot of people disagree with me last night on social media. Why did John Schneider feel that he had to throw Kevin Gausman out there for 103 pitches? I mean, I would have been fine with the Jays down 4-0 to McClanahan and that bullpen that's rested and said, okay, we're going to lose this game. And get Gausman out of there at 80 pitches. So that when we really need an extra inning out of him or not one more batter in the postseason, that he's there. That we're not going, what did we throw 103 pitches for that night? Anyway, we'll get into that story. Why, by the way, why have they postponed 3 more English Premier Soccer matches this weekend, even though the Queen has been dead for, a month now? What? And also, too, she's not lying in state. The Queen is not lying in state. Her body.
Right.
Okay, come on. She's no longer with us.
Right.
But still, 3 matches. If I'm a Chelsea fan, a Liverpool, I'm pissed. Last week you canceled matches, and you're canceling more matches. Can't have that. Can anyone tell me why the fan radio is still even in existence? Stephen Brunt, the greatest of them all, gone. There's a new morning show coming. They bounced the morning guy, but no, he's a podcaster now, I think.
I don't even know this. Okay, I'm very interested. I don't know.
Everybody wants that 9 a.m. time slot for the podcast now, the live podcast, the vodcast, the YouTube, whatever.
That's our turf.
Yeah. Roger Federer is going into podcasting. He's leaving tennis. 41 years of old. Yeah. It's just, what do I need tennis anymore? I've already done what I could do there. Now he's going into podcast. Guaranteed he's going to have a podcast soon. Is he a bigger goat than Serena Williams? And you know what I mean by it when I say that. And speaking of big and goats, Alec Manoah skewers a guy on Twitter so badly, the guy had to delete all his social media accounts.
Yeah.
Because the guy dissed Alejandro Kirk because he body shamed Alejandro Kirk, who went from first to home in maybe the most viewed video of the year, and people commenting on it as he, sprinted his way. And now, of course, he's got a bad hip, and who knows? Let's hope.
Okay. I
Let's
have
hope
some insight.
that mad dash didn't cause the hip injury, because if that's the case, then. And we're also going to talk about the false advertising surrounding the Looney Dog days at the dump. Complete false advertising. You guys were there this week, weren't you, Mike?
Yeah, I was there. When was I there? 2 nights ago. Yeah.
By the way, you're stepping on me today like Kirk Herbstreit was stepping on Al Michaels on Thursday Night Football last night.
I should open the script here. You're right. I'm flying blind. I'm going to check that out. But I just wanted to tell you that when we get to that story about the guy who deleted his account, I do know that guy. So
here we are. What do you mean when we get to the story?
I thought it was a whole segment.
No, I wanted to know about Looney Dogs, but what do you know about this deal? First of all, background of the story.
Yeah.
Is this play with Kirk, and everyone is like, they're laughing, but they're going, look at this guy. We love this guy. Inspirational. And this guy that Mike, knows, tweets something out like, it's embarrassing for baseball, whatever, that type of a thing. And Alec Manoah goes after this guy named Matthew and just like, they puts him away. Mike, what's your take on this story?
Yeah, that was a dumb tweet by this guy, but this guy's name is Matthew Ross. And my experience with him goes, I used to jump on his Team 960 in Montreal. I think.
No.
What's it called? 990?
No. See, this is the problem we have these days.
Yeah,
we don't even know. I don't think it's the same guy, Mike. I think it's a different guy.
It's a different Matthew Ross.
It's a different guy. This guy was on the team 690.
Okay, that's what I mean.
You're thinking of the Matthew Ross that's on the team 960. See, there's more than one Matthew Ross out there. This is where the confusion comes.
Okay.
There's more than one. One is an idiot, and the other guy is not an idiot.
Okay, well, then I feel bad for the non-idiot, because I think a lot of people think they're one and the same.
Anyway, the guy from Montreal is 690 is the guy you're talking about here, but I don't think he's a regular guy there. So what? So he tweeted out. So he's done now. He's done in. He'll never work again.
Yeah, I know he deleted his account, that's for sure. But yeah, he got hit pretty hard. Almost as hard as you got hit with the no ketchup on a hot dog.
Yeah.
Yesterday.
Wow.
Are you sticking by your guns? Is this you're sticking with that? No one should ever put ketchup on a hot dog.
No, ever. Ripley's Believe It or Not, I believe, had the thing saying that the National Sausage and Hot Dog Association recommends that anyone over the age of 18 do not put ketchup on your hot dog. I said that they should lower the age to 0. You're telling me that your son, Jarvis, is like a hot dog, is a ketchup on a hot dog freak? What's all that about?
Hebsy, I bought him a $12 foot long, okay? This was not Looney Day. You got the Looney hot dogs. I got a $12 foot long. He couldn't finish it. I ended up finishing it for him. But so much ketchup, because little packets, right, along the foot long. And he had more ketchup on his face than on his hot dog at the end of this thing. But
mustard, Mike.
I like mustard. He likes ketchup because he's
No, you tell him. By the time he's 18, he's got to kick the ketchup habit on a hot dog.
Kids don't like mustard. They don't like mustard. I remember not liking mustard as a kid too.
What was it put on that you didn't like mustard? Like,
it's too spicy, too vinegary or something. There's something where as a child you want a sweet or sugary.
What did you have it? What was it put on? You see, because some parents will put mustard on the weirdest things. Like, like, was it on a pretzel? Was it on a hot dog? Was it on a hamburger?
Now I'm hungry. I think under 18, you're allowed to put ketchup on a hot dog.
Was it on a Wurst sandwich on fresh rye bread with Kimmel? Never mind. That's another story. All right. So you guys were at the Dome. You and Jarvis were at the Dome, but you weren't there on the Looney Dog Day, right?
No.
So I'm there Tuesday, right? I got tickets, and it's Alec Manoah's pitching Game 1 Tuesday, and I go on Twitter and I say, oh no, he's not pitching. Okay, stomach flu. First thing I thought of was this mother got into the Looney Dogs. He got into those dogs. You know what I mean? He probably lives next door to the stadium, whatever, went in for a workout. Kind of, whoa, Looney Dogs are here. 100,000 because they had a doubleheader, 2 different games, right? And so he might have gotten into those, and that's what the stomach ate. It wasn't stomach flu. It was like a Babe Ruth thing. Dude had probably, 6, 8, 10, 12 of those, 3-bite Looney Dogs. That's what I think happened. Anyway, so we go, and he's not pitching the first game. Okay, it's like, a star. I forget, Merriweather. Meanwhile, people are lined up for these loony dogs, lined up. And I see these kids, okay? A whole bunch of kids with like a couple of moms. They all got their Blue Jay outfits on. I'm thinking, what, they skip school today? Because it's a Tuesday.
Right.
And I see that all the kids have these little pouches. And in the pouches, they've got 2 or 4 or 6 or 8 loonies, like actual loonies, right? Because on the commercial that the kids see, here's Ace, and he's doing tricks for loonies, and he's collecting loonies, and he's dropping loonies on the counter.
Right.
And he gets a tray of hot dogs, right? It's Looney Day. So all these kids have got their loonies.
Wow.
But guess what, Mike?
I know where you're going. Yeah.
You don't take cash at the Dome. There's no cash. So these kids have all these loonies like Ace on the commercials, and they're trying to drop these loonies. And these poor people behind the counters are like, we're very sorry, but we didn't put the commercials together. Wow. You're going to have to tap. So all these kids now are going tap, tap, tap. It's like a loony. Tap.
They're
tap,
tapping
tap,
the loony.
Tap, tap. And one of the moms says to me that she was like, it just didn't occur to her that the Blue Jays would be stupid enough to run a promotion that, if you recall, Mike, originally ran a few years ago when they did accept cash. Right. They did accept cash. I know it because I was with some people and they did. Yeah. They took cash. Right?
COVID killed cash, I think, at the Dome.
So you're the Blue Jays. All these renovations to the stadium. Every seat is now going to face home plate in the next couple of years. So I don't have to bitch and complain about having to twist my neck to watch the games. But this false advertising, I mean, you're so cheap that you brought back the old promotion with the same people and you made a couple of edits. You don't take cash. You don't take loonies. You don't take toonies. Don't tell people that they can bring their loonies and toonies like your mascot and drop it on the counter and expect hot dogs. Must have tap. Tap,
Thank
Mom.
you.
Tap, Mom. Tap. So false advertising. That's one thing with the Blue Jays.
Okay.
Number 2, they won 3 of 5 against Tampa. Fabulous. It was exciting. It was great. What do they have? 22,000 people at the game? And people are going, oh, but Tampa's not a draw. It's midweek. No, it's the fucking stadium. Get it through your thick skulls. Who wants to go to a dark, dank? Oh, I know it was raining one night and the Dome was closed. That was great. And then they opened it for the second game. Come on. It's not a fun place to go to. It's not. And for these people who are like, it's the greatest ballpark ever, folks, no offense. When I first attended a game at Exhibition Stadium, I had been to other ballparks before. I'd been to Jarry Park in Montreal. I had been to Pittsburgh, Forbes Field. I had been to Tiger Stadium in Detroit. Where else had I been to? One other place? Cleveland. I had been to Cleveland's Municipal Stadium. So I had been to other ballparks before, and I knew that Exhibition Stadium was a converted football stadium, was a shit stadium, a shitty location, but it was ours. I got that. And the atmosphere was wonderful. And when they won their first division, it was terrific. But come on, man, this is 2022. Prices to go to events, you got to have comfort. Man, I'm not talking about a cup holder at every seat, which would be nice. But I'm talking about things that the organization has already recognized, but it's taken them too long to implement. And I'm not saying to people, I'm not going to go back to that place. And, Hebsy, you're bitching and you're complaining. Have some cheese with that wine. I'm telling you, as someone who has been to many, many, many sporting events in many different venues before, the Rogers Center is not could be way more fun, could be way more fan-friendly than it is. And hopefully in 2 years, when they complete all these renovations, it will be better than it is. But still, when you walk up to the stadium, you want to see action, you want to see baseball, you don't get that when you walk that Dome. It's all enclosed. All these other places, it's, from blocks away, you just feel the atmosphere of it. I'm talking about atmosphere. So for those of you who believe that it's the greatest place, and when the Jays are winning, there's no place greater. Okay, if you say so, but check out some other places and then get back to me, okay?
It's like the old adage, he's a son of a bitch, but he's our son of a bitch.
Well, yeah, kind of, but the thing is that,
like,
again,
it's a piece of shit, but it's our piece of shit.
Mike, the experience of this is when all is said and done and the day is over and you go, okay, that cost $225, for the two of us to go and had a drink, whatever, it was $225. Was it worth it? And then you think back to when you went to Cincinnati or Detroit or whatever, and you went, oh man, do you remember that?
Yeah.
Beers were $6. The tickets were $25 and were good seats. The place was 3/4 full. It was exciting. The monuments were beautiful. The history, the whole atmosphere there was just, more baseball-y and fun and friendly, and all the seats faced, you didn't work craning your, all that. To go to those ballparks and then get back to me. Meanwhile, last night, those of you who went, oh, who the heck is phoning me at this hour?
That's Shapiro. He wants to talk to you right away.
No. Somebody. Okay, folks, I'm sorry. It was my 90-year-old father.
Oh, well, that's important.
I don't think he's going, oh my God, my son's got a podcast right now. I won't be phoning him. Just didn't think that way. Anyway, imagine going to yesterday's game. Baby, we're flying, baby. 11-0. They lose 11-0. And they might have lost Alejandro Kirk as well. Because that first to home sprint the other night, which made it to every highlight reel in the world, which caused some idiots to body shame Alejandro Kirk. Guess what? Ever since then, I haven't seen him. Sat out the last 2 games. Left hip tightness. Last year, 60-day IL. Remember? Left hip injury. Do you recall?
Yes, I do.
All right, so I'm just saying. It was great to see him run. Like run. It was great, but
you go to a lot of games.
I'm worried now. I told you I was worried about Springer before. I'm worried about Gosman's arm. I am because this has happened before. Because a couple of years ago, Charlie Montoya was like, okay, Matt Shoemaker, you go in there for 4 innings, and then we'll try you. Because guys' arms were falling off, because he didn't know what to do with the pitching staff. And John Schneider hasn't proven to me. I mean, he's doing a wonderful job, I'm sure. But I mean, come on, man. You have to be looking at that playoff series, whether you're playing all 3 games at home, if it goes 3 games, whether you get the number 1 wild card, or whether you're going on the road to Cleveland or who knows, Chicago now, or you're playing Tampa or Seattle. It doesn't matter. It's all about setting up that rotation so that you get max, that your pitchers, those guys, those starting pitchers, are in the best possible shape. And I just didn't feel that with the Jays losing 4-0 against McClanahan, who's lights out this year. Guy might win the frickin' Cy Young. And then the arrested bullpen. I just thought, okay, that you're going to lose some games. Man, give up on this one now. Get Gosman out of there. Get him out of there. I know it's a bullpen day today. I get that. But come on, man. If you needed to and said to Zach Pop, Zach, I need 50 pitches out of you in 3 innings because I can't waste the rest of the bullpen. If you got to go up to, Cliff Pennington or whoever, is the last guy, Minifield, and say, hey, can you pitch an inning for me? And it comes down to that. Give up the game. Okay. Give it up. Just, say, look, no more. But don't make your starter the guy that's going to be your number 2 starter in the playoff in game 2. Don't make him throw 103 pitches. Okay.
So why do you do that? Like, what do you think he was thinking?
Because he's thinking like all these other ones. It's a bullpen. You got to rest the bullpen. Got to rest. Well, that's bullshit. Got to rest the bullpen. Your most precious commodity is your starting pitcher. You cannot have your starting pitcher starting the playoff series and his arm's about to fall off. Or it's like, geez, I wish we wouldn't have thrown him those extra 20 pitches that day back on September 15th, a couple of weeks ago. Right? He didn't come out of it so well. Remember, he gave up the home run that made it 5-0. And then, no, man, he's been great. Okay. Rest him. This is your horse. This is your guy. Okay. So what if Zach Pop gets hit and the rest of the bullpen? What's the difference? It ended up being 11-0 anyway. What's the difference? That's all I'm saying. What's the difference? So now you got Kirk's hip and you got maybe Gosman's arm, and hopefully not. But I don't like this, man. I mean, you rest your best guys, all right? If you're going to lose, you're going to lose. It's like George Springer. Why is he putting George Springer out in center field with a 4 relief? He doesn't need to. That's why he uses Bradley Zimmer or Jackie Bradley Jr. Same thing with your pitchers. Man, come on. If you're taking Springer out so you can rest him, why wouldn't you do the same with Gosman? That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. So 80, 75, 80 pitches. So what if it's the 5th inning? Big deal. That's why you have mop-up guys in the bullpen. That's why you have guys who say, look, man, just eat up some innings. And if you give up a bunch of runs, so what? Big deal. So we lose 11-0. So how did it end up working out? Tonight, the Jays game against Baltimore is on Apple TV, which means no Dan, no Buck, no Hazel, no Arash, but instead a couple of nobodies and that strange, shitty music, that mind-numbing music that they play between innings that you can't get away from. Apple TV, you want to strangle them. Let's hope Kirk's in the lineup. Let's hope today's bullpen day doesn't turn out to be another disaster. How did you guys like the game? What game did you go to? Which one?
So we won 5-1.
Right. The Wednesday game.
We saw Vladdy's 100th career home run.
Is that significant?
No, but I made it like a big deal for the 8-year-old, right?
100 home runs for Vladdy. Oh, my God.
100 is not significant.
Don't you remember the last time a Blue Jay hit his 100th career home run? Wasn't that exciting? Who was that again?
But Hebsy, here's the difference. This is the youngest Blue Jay to hit his 100th home run. So that little added caveat makes it interesting to me.
Okay.
Like, this is the youngest Blue Jay to hit 100 home runs.
I guess. Who was the previous youngest Blue Jay to hit 100 home runs?
Oh, shit. I don't know. Carlos Delgado? I can't remember. I have to Google that one.
Probably, yeah. Probably. Or Fred McGriff, maybe. Yes. No, yeah, one of those two. I think they were 20. They were in their age 26 year. And they hit their 100th home run with the Blue Jays. And Vladdy is in his age 23 year. That's those are things that we kind of forget about. He's 23. He's 23.
I know.
Think of how much better he is now than he was when he was 21. And he was pretty good when he was 21. Imagine how good he'll be when he's 25 or 26.
Right. No, it's a good times. And we'll talk more about Vladdy in a moment. But just to tell you, the one thing about, because you go to a lot of baseball games, so you might get yourself an 11-0 loss now and then, but you'll also pick up, a 5-1 win, right? Like, but when you're bringing the 8-year-old, who, by the way, his last game, he was 3 years old, so he doesn't remember it. So this is essentially like his first Blue Jay game. Okay. My thought is like, please don't let this be an 11-0 drubbing. Like, you don't know what you're going to get, so you show up at the game. Now, we got the 5-1 win. We got to see Vladdy hit a homer, the second batter of the game, or the first inning anyway. But it's kind of like you think how close you came to having him sit through the 11-0 loss. Like, it's such a crapshoot. You're
thinking this is how I'd feel if I was his age and I was in an 11-0 game. You'll feel bad that he's not seeing an exciting game.
Right.
Like he's looking at it through a completely different lens, though, right?
I know,
so he may be observing other things about the game as opposed to just the moment of there's other things. And he's 8. He's looking around going, that's a cool t-shirt that guy's wearing. Oh, I like that. I remember looking at the size of the first base coach, the first game I ever went to at Maple Leaf Stadium. And just remember the number 23 for Buffalo. And I just remember going, oh my God, Dad, look at the size of this guy. He was so big that I couldn't see past him to see what was going on at first base. Like every time a guy got from where we were sitting, every time the shortstop or third baseman threw a runner out at first, I couldn't see the ball going into the first baseman's glove because this huge first base coach. I found out later the guy's name was Luke Easter. And he was a pretty good ball player. And my dad says, oh, no, Lou Keister, because Keister is like Yiddish for you're behind, your rear end. And they called him Lou Keister. His name was Luke Keister. But he was a big, to me, a kid. Yeah. He was huge. And he just was in the way. Anyway.
Too funny. I'm glad the one thing is I did give him this exciting talk up before the game that if the Jays hit a homer, there's going to be fireworks and everything, right? Mm-hmm. So when Vladdy hits it out in the first inning, I'm like, okay, now it doesn't matter. Like we can lose 11-1 because I told him he could get fireworks if a homer and that happened. So yeah. Right.
And you see, when I see this happen and he hit his 100th, I immediately wait to hear if on the broadcast, and this isn't up to the announcers, it's up to the producers to say, all right, we've got hero notes ready. We're waiting for Vladdy to hit his 100th home run. And when he does, we have this board already that has, fastest to 100 home runs or number of Blue Jays that have hit 100 home runs and where Vladdy stands or something like that, right? And a lot of times they don't have it because they don't have time to put that up there or, it interrupts the flow of the game or they let Dan and Buck say, hey, that's 100 home runs for Vladdy and he's the youngest ever to do it. And of course, the all-time Carlos Delgado has more home runs in a Blue Jay uniform than anyone else, but Vladdy's only whatever.
Right.
So if I don't see it in 5 minutes, the statistical goof me goes, wait a second, let's put that down. Let me put that on Twitter just so I can put it out there because I want context. I'm so interested in context because I would have, as a kid, gone 100. That's pretty good. Like, has anyone else done it, Dad? Or Dad, Is he the youngest to do it? Or, Dad, how many other guys have hit 100 home runs? And that would be the way I would think. And so because of that, I have to be the one, I guess, in a lot of cases to say, wait a minute, I've got some context here. A lot of it is me showing off. But the other is me just being inquisitive, saying, wait a second, Buck, you just said that. 2 days in a row, Buck says, that's another double for Bo Bichette. That's 40 doubles. And my first thing is that good? Like, is that near the league lead? Like, the next words out of his mouth has to be, he's only 2 behind Jose Ramirez for the league lead in doubles. And he's only 5 behind Freddie Freeman for the major league lead in doubles. What a story that is. Bo Bichette, who 2 weeks ago was given up for dead. But instead, Buck just he just sort of looked at his notes and went, that's 40 doubles for Bo. And about 30 seconds later, or even less, Dan Shulman is jumping it because he's got the stats right there. He's like, boop, 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 and so Dan Shulman then, without, making Buck look bad, but just, sort of adding, saying, sure. Freddie Freeman's the leader with 45, and Bo's now tied with Jose Ramirez. That's significant. That's context. That's what I want. So Vladdy, if he signs, he seems to be agreeable, according to a couple of sources here that through one of the Spanish language broadcasters or journalists says that Vladdy is agreeable. He's like, yeah, he wants to be a Blue Jay. He's willing to sign it. So now I'm like, whoa. So what do we do here, Mike? He wants to stay. We want him. What are you thinking? 7 years? 7 years takes him to his age 31 season.
Don't 7 you do years, whatever it takes? You do what you have to do, right? You got to lock this guy up.
This is your guy, right?
Yeah. Like
this guy in Manoah. These are your guys. This is the future. This is your stud starting pitcher and your numero uno ball player, first baseman of the future. So I'm thinking 7 years, $245 million. If you're Vladdy, do you take it? So remember, that's 3 years of 2 years of ARB eligible and then into free agency. No, 3 years before he's ARB eligible, free agency to 27. Yeah. You got to pay him big for the 3 arbitration eligible seasons, big. And then you got to pay him even bigger for his free agent seasons. 7 years, 245. That's what I would offer. Whew. Okay. Can't put a dollar value on Roger Federer, but you could put a human value on him, probably because we knew that he was going to retire someday. And using the word greatest, of course, is the most overused word in the English language. I can prove that. I wrote a book called The Greatest Athlete You've Never Heard of. Right. And greatest has turned into GOAT, and I get all of that. But Roger Federer's next and final match will be during the Laver Cup next week. And then that's it. Okay. Might step on the court for the odd exhibition. That'd be tough. So he says he's retiring at the age of 41. Now, we've heard this before. Serena Williams, even when she said she was retiring, said she might not be retiring, and then went on Phil Donahue this week, or Oprah, I forget what show. She was on Sally Jesse Raphael saying that, well, maybe I won't retire after all. Because Tom Brady retired and unretired, because Brett Favre retired and unretired, because just about everybody who has retired has unretired. So the word doesn't mean anything, but I think it does with Roger Federer. I don't have to tell you how amazing a player he was, and it's kind of hard to believe that he's 41, but he is. And when you think that he burst onto the scene back in the late 1990s, early 2000s, and won 20 Grand Slams, which included a record 8 Wimbledon titles, this guy exuded class, dignity, poise, professionalism, wicked sense of humor, helpful, not a blemish on this guy, and fathered 2 sets of twins. Mike, I know you can appreciate this. This guy, I'm trying to think of any other athlete. This more like a performer. Okay. So when wherever Michael Bublé goes in the world, they love him, right?
Yes.
Wherever AC/DC plays in the world, they love them, right?
Yes.
U2, name a band, name a performer. That's Roger Federer. Wherever he went in the world to play tennis, he was the favorite. He was the loved one. Even if there was a local there no, it's Feds. So he was a rock star in that regard. No matter where he went, you wanted to see Roger Federer. He was I never cheered against Roger Federer, ever. Okay, I like Nadal, but I could never root against him. I had to root for him because I thought he was like fantastic. And listen to this. This guy played almost 2,000 professional matches, singles and doubles, and never retired from a match. Wow. Never walked off. Never.
Wow.
How many other players how many other GOATs, quote unquote, can claim that feat? That they never ended the match by walking off, by forfeiting, leaving with an injury, whatever it was. They were getting their ass kicked and they said, I'm quitting. Roger Federer never retired from a match. And when you consider that he had to play Nadal and Djokovic and oh my God, all those years banging heads with the other two greats of all time. Okay. At any point during the history of tennis, never were three players. I don't care, men's, women's, double singles, never were three players that good, that close. You know that. Look at all those years. Who won the majors? Those three guys. One there for Andy Murray. There's a U.S. Open for Del Potro there. Okay, right? But come on, phenomenal. So good on him, Feds. He's awesome, man. He's awesome. Speaking of royalty, even though Queen Elizabeth II passed away over a week ago, things are still pretty hairy in England. Now, I get it, but I don't get it. All English Premier Soccer matches were postponed last weekend. Well, come on, the Queen died. You can't play soccer. Well, you guys can have your golf tournament over there, sure, because it was already going, and you can do those performances at the London Philharmonic. But no soccer, because we need all those cops and all those security people that would be at the soccer matches. We need them for the Queen's procession, right? From here to there, and then lying over there, and then everybody filing by. I don't mind waiting 17 hours and walking 8.5 kilometers to view the Queen's body. Come on, man, what's going on here? This weekend, 3 more English Premier Soccer matches postponed. Thank God Spurs are playing Leicester and that game is on. Thank God. But I'll tell you right now, I would be super pissed if I'm a Chelsea fan or a Liverpool fan because that game's out. Or if I'm a Man U fan or I'm a Leeds United fan, I'm pissed because that game's been postponed. And if I'm a Brighton fan or I'm a Crystal Palace fan, I'm pissed. I'm pissed anyway because you got a compressed schedule anyway. You got the World Cup anyway. Now, the Queen is still dead. We can't have these matches. We need those security personnel and those police officers. We need them to guard the Queen's body. Fuck, man. How long do you mourn a monarch after passing? 11 days. It'll be 11 days until she's laid to rest. The whole world has to stop. All of England has to stop. That's a long time to mourn. I'm just saying, man, I'd be pissed if my team was canceled second week in a row because a 96-year-old monarch passed away.
It's a British thing.
What say you?
I say that from Canada, where we sit right now, it's tough to understand. But I think in Britain, if you think about the 70 years she reigned.
I got it, Mike, but how long?
I know.
How long?
I know. That body's got to get in the ground.
Longer?
I'm with you. I know.
How long?
After Monday, things go back to normal.
I tell you this right now. If the Queen were Jewish, she'd have been in the ground within 48 hours. We'd be sitting Shiva. Life would go on. That's all I'm going to say. NFL action last night. It was on Amazon Prime. More people are streaming now. Officially, 51 to 49%, according to latest figures. More people are streaming live sports. So last night, the debut on Amazon Prime, TSN picks it up. Mike, how does that work? TSN like streams it and then sends it to you? No, I mean, I honest to God, like it comes from Amazon Prime. It's a streaming service. Okay.
Yeah, I'm with you.
How does an over-the-air television station take a street like I guess they just get permission to
They
take the
get
feed.
once they have permit, yeah, they have the feed and they just
Right.
yeah.
So
broadcast that.
the originator is a streaming service, but it can be put onto broadcast television.
Exactly.
Quite simply.
Yeah, very easy.
All right. Anyway, the KC Chiefs beat the Los Angeles Chargers. I was going to say San Diego. And I was going to call the KC Chiefs the Dallas Texans.
Woo! That's throwback.
I've been that's a good one. And in fact, the Chargers, I think the Chargers did start as the Los Angeles Chargers, moved to San Diego, and then were there for like 40 years and then moved back. Anyway, so the final was 27-24 for KC, and it was on Amazon Prime with people who are these people? Except for Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit. And Kirk kept stepping all over Al like the two had never met each other before.
That's like us today.
Yeah, it was a bit different. The two of them are sitting next to each other. You and I are in faraway places. Yeah. Anyway, the Monday Nighter features the Buffalo Bills looking to move to 2-0 against the Tennessee Titans in Buffalo. Orchard Park will be wild Monday night. Bills favored by 9.5. In local media, the Fan 590 looks like it'll be making some more changes. Stephen Brunt is out. Did you hear anything about that, Mike?
Well, I actually had Gare Joyce over yesterday, and Gare and Stephen Brunt got told in the same wave of layoffs, like cost cutting. They were notified in July. So although we just learned, Gare emptied his office yesterday at Sportsnet. Yes. Stephen Brunt may have...
Wait. Gare had a...
Yeah, he had a desk and stuff. Pre-pandemic, I think he would go to the office. So he had to clear out his stuff. He did that yesterday.
No way!
Yeah.
Fuck, man. So they were told in July that their contracts were renewed or whatever?
Right. They were told they were done. Yeah. And then, yeah. So
Gare and Stephen were they were part of the original when they were doing publishing stuff? Like they wrote for the website and they wrote for the magazine before that and all that?
The magazine was going to be a big deal, you might recall. Yeah. And it didn't last particularly long. But so there were a lot of writers brought in for the magazine. Interesting about Brunt, and I know you'll talk more about Brunt, but like we know him now, he's a radio guy, but Brunt's such a good writer. It's amazing how little writing he did for Sportsnet over those last few years at Sportsnet. Like
that's because nobody reads. People aren't reading stuff off of websites the way what they had hoped that they would. Do you know what I mean?
And that's exactly why Gare is no longer employed there. He didn't even have the radio part. He was just the writer, and there was no one reading.
It's too bad. I do. And Gare's got something on Substack now, which is wonderful. It's deep reads though, man. Like I said, if you love to read, this is the type of stuff I devour. But, most people are like, give me the headlines in a little bit and then I'm moving on. Anyway. So the morning show used to be, and I listened a couple times. I couldn't distinguish who was who. J.D. Bunkus, Blake Murphy, and Eilish Fulfar.
Okay.
And now JD Bunkus, JD Bunkus announced this on his own, I guess, and I follow JD Bunkus. He's going to now host a podcast every morning at 9 a.m. on the Fan 590. So it's a podcast. But it's on the radio. So can you explain that to me?
Well, the thing that gets me is why are you listening to the recording of their podcast where unlike us, where we go, you do a live read for, a great Crosswinds golf course, but we don't stop down for an ad break. But I'm sure if they're recording this podcast at 9 a.m., the Fan's going to run ads, like commercial breaks. Like, wouldn't you rather just listen to the podcast? Or am I crazy here?
Mike, I don't know.
Where you can pause it and you can start it when you're ready to go for your run or your walk or whatever, or your bike ride. And anyway, this whole idea that you'd want to listen to it on the radio where they'll put in these big fat ad breaks is ludicrous to me.
Ludicrous. I haven't heard some, I think I'm going to listen to, after this podcast, I'm going to put some Ludicrous on. I'm feeling like it.
He's a good actor too.
Yeah. No, I like him. He's awesome. Anyway, back to this morning. So I haven't listened. I mean, I do listen sometimes when I'm in the car. I'll punch it in. And most times I don't know who I'm listening to. They don't identify themselves. It just sounds like people are going through the motions. I don't hear a lot of, emotion and a lot of, I don't know what it is, but I don't know who I'm listening to in a lot of cases. So I had listened to this morning show a few times. They were talking about betting. They were getting deep into betting.
Of course.
I was betting at halftime and the live odds changed and sort of all this type of thing. But anyway, so these three are, I guess, split up, because unless he's going to do the morning show, then he's going to have his own podcast at 9:00. I don't know. But I guess this is like they're going to shuffle the deck chairs on the Titanic again, because they're adding, according to some people, somebody else is rumored to be moving into that morning show. and someone else might be leaving or might not be leaving. And so I figured out that's 47 different morning show combinations on the Fan. 47 that I can come up with. 47 different morning show combinations. How many can you come up with? Can anyone name me?
What, do you want me to do this? Are you serious?
No, not now. I'm just saying, think about this. Drop them down if you want. Maybe there's some combinations that people have forgotten about. Right?
Is 47 a real number? Because it seems high to me. Is that true? 47? No, you're just making up a number.
No.
Okay. I could probably name about 20. I don't know about 47. But
47. Now, again, this was a morning show, let's say, that started with 2 people. They added a third person, right? They went back to something else. But I'm talking about the way the morning show was, how it was, announced as. Who are the hosts of the morning show? I got 47.
Okay. Offline, I will do my best because I think I'd be pretty good.
Take your time. Take the weekend. Take the rest of the month. It doesn't matter to me.
But I have questions.
But I can tell you that starting with, Mike Inglis and Joe Bowen.
Right.
Okay. And I'm just talking about when they became the Fan.
Right.
Forget about before that.
So
you want to go all the way back in the history of the frequency. Oh, even more. In tennis, Montreal's Jeannie Bouchard.
We're done with the Fan?
What?
I was going to talk a bit more just to understand. So, and tell me if you don't know, but so Brunt says he's gone. Brunt is no longer with Stephen Brunt.
Steven Sprunt. Yeah, Brunt's gone, but was Brunt? I'm like, you know what?
He was with
Ben Ennis.
Yes.
Who used to be with JD Bunkus.
Right.
They did the afternoon show. Who took over for Greg Brady and let me think about. No, wait. Maybe. Oh God, I can't remember.
Scott MacArthur.
Oh, MacArthur.
Zigomanis, who threaded me on Instagram. I'll never forget that guy.
Right. And now we're getting, okay. Anyway, what did you want to know? What was your question?
All right. So Brunt's gone. Do we know who's, so Brunt's gone. Yeah. It's a true fact. So Ben Ennis, because I thought, well, maybe they'll put Bunkus back beside Ennis, because that's sort of like, not that they call it that, but it's like the primetime sports sort of.
But can you do that, Mike? Can you put someone back together with someone when they've been split up before? What is that like?
Of course. Well, I mean, you can do that.
Oh, really? Of course. You're speaking from experience here. I happen to know it's very difficult to have a connection with someone, work with that person, be split up from that person, and then get back together with that person.
Well, Brunt and McCowan did it, and Cox and McCowan did it. Like, this happened all the time.
And how did that go?
That was all right. I don't know. You're asking the wrong guy.
No, but I mean, I'm just saying, did it end up being fruitful? Did the second run, was it long and fruitful, great decision made?
Not that long. Not that long. Nothing.
Okay. So changes that's the business we're in. Anyway,
so I just went. We don't know yet who's going to be with Ennis in this time slot.
Maybe he goes solo.
Ennis solo, really? Okay.
That would be okay. The only way someone would go solo, like Ben Wagner, is to save money. Now, do you think the people at Rogers Communications want to save money? This is the question, Mike. Not are we going to put great programming out there?
Well, of course they do. That's why Brunt's.
Do they want to save money?
Right.
And just go over all the decisions they've made with regards to personnel, all of them. And I'm going to include traveling, with their broadcasters, I think Joe Bowen and Jim Ralph are going on the road this year with the Leafs. I think the only reason they could afford that is if they got rid of Brunt and they got rid of, think about it. It's like the bean counters are going, Joe and Ralphie can't travel unless this happens. Right? Okay. And then bean counter goes, oh, that's easy. Garrett Joyce, Stephen Brett.
Right.
Done. Like probably that simple.
But
knowing a bit about budgets and trust me, bean counter goes, we can't afford it. Well, what if this happens? Then we can afford it. Remember the scene in the movie Moneyball when what's his name, Jonah, gets on the phone and he says, well, he would like to do this, but can he have the money for next year if he does that? And he's waiting, and then the guy goes, well, okay, like that kind of thing. They go, yeah, beautiful, way to go. We did it. We shuffled the budget around.
Right.
Okay. Because it's unfair for Jim Ralph and Joe Bowen to not be in Pittsburgh when the Leafs are in Pittsburgh. Oh, come on.
Okay. That notwithstanding, this Fan 590 lineup, if you compare it to like what was going on even 15 years ago, like seems like they've given up, and I'm wondering, like, why do they bother to continue with their sports radio station?
Well, because they now have to turn it into an audio platform that is easily accessible or more accessible to people, and listening to live radio in the car or whatever, just not as many people. It doesn't have to be live. I could listen to that the way, like the show, whatever time you're listening to the show. If it's live, that's great. But there's,
Right.
unless there's breaking news here that you've got to know what's going on at 9:45 in the morning, what's happening in the Eugenie Bouchard match.
Right.
If you need to know, I'll just tell you right now. She wins the first set 6-1. She kills her opponent. Okay, it's now suspended. Suspended. Why?
You used to be angry when I give you real-time updates.
No, I'm just telling you that if you were listening for a live thing at 9:45, I happen to notice that she won the first set 6-1 and lost the second set 6-4 and is down 3-love in the third set, and it's suspended. I don't know why. Maybe it's the weather. But if it doesn't matter to you, that you can listen anytime you want. Okay. I don't know if people are listening to the podcast going, oh, for crying out loud, this happened hours ago. They're not. They're just not. But you're right. They're not going to listen if there's commercials sitting there all the time.
All right.
There you go. So did that answer your question about the fans?
Well, no, it didn't answer. We have more questions.
I don't know. I'm not programming the radio station. I'm not Rogers. I'm not. How much money can we save? But this, Mike, it's a slippery slope.
Yeah.
They're not going to turn around suddenly and say, all right, radio's back. Right? We're going to grab Derringer to do the morning show.
Oh, no.
With the ghost of Pat Marsden, bringing McCowan back in the afternoon with Cox,
Mike
Stellick,
Richards,
Landry, Richard. We're bringing them all back.
Stellick.
All of them. Okay? No. Okay?
All right. I wish him luck.
Ben Wagner. Yes, Ben Wagner can afford to go on the road now that we've gotten rid of Brunt. And I apologize for saying gotten rid of, but this is the way.
Yeah, it's cost cutting.
And I'm going to tell you this another thing, folks. Trust me when I tell you this, okay? That these people that are running these broadcasting organizations, these people are ruthless. They don't give a shit about you. They care about their own jobs. And a lot of them hate their fucking jobs too. They hate them. They hate having to fire people and tell them that they're not going to. They're villains. All of them are villains. And they're working under a corporate structure where their hands are tied, where they have to do this to save their own asses. It's fucking dog eat dog out there. It is. And not just in broadcasting. Only I know from broadcasting, but I know people that are in other businesses. It's shit out there. And people are just not enjoying themselves. I'm glad I got out of the business. I enjoyed it up to a certain point, but it doesn't seem as enjoyable now to me. Shuffling the decks. Remember I told you the discussion I had with a program director years ago. He says, Hebsy, I don't know if my pass card is going to work when I go into the building every day.
And that's no way to live, man.
No way to live. No way to live. In golf, Brooke Henderson shot a 468 at the Portland Classic in Oregon. Is it Oregon or Oregon? Doesn't matter. Oregon. She's 3 shots off the lead. Veteran Elena Sharp of Hamilton. Is it Hamilton or Hamilton? Also at 400 par. The men are playing in the Fortinet Championship in Napa, California. First round play was suspended. Canada's Nick Taylor tied for 6th after posting a 500 par score. Adam Svensson came in at -4. Corey Connors -2. Mackenzie Hughes -2. Taylor Pendrith -1. Michael Gligic from Burlington is at +3. Speaking of Burlington and golf, have you checked out Crosswinds Golf and Country Club? It's beautiful. I'm playing there on Monday in Customer Appreciation Day. Gonna have a real good time there. And have not played there in a while. I understand it's in beautiful, pristine condition. Mark and his staff have done a wonderful job, as always. It's been a pretty dry summer. The pond levels are down, but the course is in immaculate shape, and I can hardly wait to go. You should check it out, crosswindsgolf.com. Book your tee time online. If you do so, you save $10 per golfer, which is a pretty good deal. Pretty good deal. You're going to get your kids into golf, Mike?
Wasn't planning on it, Hebsy, man.
What about disc golf?
I see them playing it on the waterfront trail there by the lake.
What about soccer golf? Soccer golf.
No.
Ever seen that?
No.
That's the best, man.
What I have noticed picked up since you mentioned it, I now see it all the time, is pickleball.
Oh yeah,
pickleball. It's having a real moment, pickleball.
But the problem with pickleball is people are upset. Neighbors in neighborhoods are upset because the constant sound of the thwacking of the ball off the paddle annoys a lot of local residents. So they're having the sound. You get used to the sound of a tennis ball being hit. It's a much softer sound, right? but the clop, 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 the right back and forth. And especially in pickleball, and it's doubles. It's just fast. It's whap, 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 at the net. And people are complaining. Noise pollution. Again, like motorcycles are going off, like you're revving your Harley Davidson, stuff like that.
Right.
Before we go, Mike,
yeah,
more problems for Hockey Canada. These are things we can't overlook. And thank goodness we have Rick Westhead and the likes at TSN doing tremendous journalism, something that Sportsnet should be doing, Rogers should be doing. But of course, they don't have Stephen Brunt or Gare Joyce, good reporters like that.
You got to pay for a Rick Westhead.
Got it. So anyway, Hockey Canada has acknowledged that there is a third sexual assault allegation, and they've taken it to an independent third party that will decide if it will be investigated. If it'll be investigated, because no charges have been laid and no complaints. There hasn't been a complaint. Hockey Canada was informed of a potential situation that we took seriously and immediately sent it to the independent third party. Hockey Canada has not received a formal complaint, said a spokesperson. Ottawa area lawyers Aaron Durant and Brian Ward have been retained and will have the authority to pursue a formal investigation should they find one is warranted. This is very disturbing, Mike. These lawyers are serving in a similar capacity with the allegations of sexual assault involving Hockey Canada at the 2003 World Juniors in Halifax, and Hockey Canada has been under scrutiny since May, when news broke of an event in 2018 in London, Ontario, which involved 8 unidentified players, including members of that year's World Junior team, and the subsequent settlement. All of this, Mike, and us finding out, the taxpayers finding out that our taxpayer dollars that went to Hockey Canada, supposedly for the development and improvement of the game in Canada among Canadians, actually was funneled into a secret fund to pay off allegations such as these. That's where the money was used. All of that going on. Now Hockey Canada, now there's a third incident. What do you think?
A couple of thoughts, and I want your take on this. But firstly, I'm a little confused by all this. Like, when there's a sexual assault, isn't that a police matter? Like,
if there's been a formal complaint, right?
Yeah, I mean, you have to report.
I mean, how did the police find out that there may have been an assault? If the police are informed,
the victim reports it to the police.
Then they investigate. If they investigate and find that there was no sexual assault, or there was no witness, or there was no complainant, then whoever made the original phone, like someone could have called from a payphone, or not payphone, listen to me. Someone could have called and said, look, there was an assault going on. But anyway, now you've got to go back to the original, in police investigation. What happened? Why were there charges laid? Were they dropped? Did the complainant write out a formal statement?
It seems like that. Like, we always hear Hockey Canada investigating this and that. Like, Hockey Canada is not the police. Like, I feel like we need to. If there's been a crime committed, any crime committed,
right?
That's why we have police. We report it, they investigate, and then they press charges, etc., and then it goes to court, whatever. Yeah. And then the second thing is this board that seems to be like refusing to step down. Like, don't they have to step down for Canada to and become more transparent?
Well, no. The board votes. The board would vote as to whether the chairman of the board, the CEO, I guess, should step down, and the board, I guess, voted that he shouldn't step down. Oh. So I don't know how that works. That to me is sort of like, it's sort of like the HR department at work. Like, you're going, you just go to HR and they'll look after everything. And you're going, fucking HR is under the fucking thumb of management.
Right.
How could you think anything else?
Right.
How could you possibly think that person sitting in the building of the company that you work for is independent and not an employee of the company?
Right.
I mean, that's bullshit. So to me, that's sort of like, it's HR. Everything will be okay. Hockey Canada is like HR. I don't know what I mean. But now the government, they have to be two separate entities here. And if the government is looking after HR or Hockey Canada, then they got to make changes, and they got to admit that this is fucked up, and it's under their, umbrella, that the ministry, whichever ministry it is, St. Albans, what is it? Ministry of Amateur Sport? No, Ministry of Heritage Ministry, right? Where does this all stand? Anyway, It's bad. It's a clusterfuck, man. It's bad, and
It is a clusterfuck.
Makes all these junior hockey, not just junior hockey players. Think of Hockey Canada. Was there no buzz for the women's world championships? Doesn't that come under Hockey Canada? Any event that takes place in Canada, Hockey Canada is involved to the nth degree. All these young players that are part of the development program, that part of the national teams. And I'm also talking about Hockey Canada also represents us in the Paralympics as well as the Olympics. I mean, you're talking about many levels. I mean, to be associated with anything called Hockey Canada, to me, is like, I don't know, like being the guy from My Pillow, that jerk off. Like, imagine if you worked for that company.
Right.
You work for that company. That guy was your boss. And you're like, oh, fuck. People are like, you're looking at you going, don't you work for My Pillow? Ugh. That's like, oh, you work for Hockey Canada? So, time to change, time for a whole scrub. Right. How about we just change the name of Hockey Canada to something else and just get rid of the logos? Man, this is just, this is terrible that this went on. And the other thing is, if something happened in 2003, 20 years ago, and it hasn't been resolved, or people are still living with that, the woman who was involved and the guys, the junior players that were allegedly, and there is, video evidence. It has been scrubbed, but people have seen it. That's just really disturbing to me that something, immediately isn't being done. And plus all these calls for resignation, it's like Trump down there. Like, when are you going to arrest Trump? It's like, when are you going to blow up Hockey Canada? What the fuck is taking so long? How many files do we have to find? How many more lies or how many more, stories have to come out that should have come out a long time ago and didn't? Are we going to hear about? This is unbelievable. How much more is out there? That's the part that bothers me the most. You uncover, scratch the surface. Oh, geez. I'm shocked that there was allegation. Oh, really? How shocked? And then you find out, oh, by the way, 2018 isn't the only one. This happened in 2003. What? And there's another one now? So we're just going to have to wait and see. All right, we're out. That's it for episode 301 of Hebsy on Sports. Thanks to Toronto Mike for production and inspiration. Hit him up at Toronto Mike. Got some great shows. Really good guests. He's interviewing John Biner later today. John Biner. Thanks as well to our fabulous sponsor, Crosswinds Golf and Country Club. Go to crosswindsgolf.com, book your tee time online. Hope to see you out there. It's a great, great track, and you're going to really enjoy it. Boy, fall, especially there, is going to be beautiful. Colors are going to be changing soon. Not too long. Thanks to you for listening. I appreciate it if you wrote a nice review, or you shared this podcast, or you liked it, or whatever you need to do. And if you have to lie and tell people that it's the best podcast you've ever heard, I would appreciate that little white lie. Thanks for allowing us into your headspace. Back with another exciting episode of Hebsy on Sports next week. Until then, so long for now.